Mic check 1 2. Can anybody hear me? Well, we have no viewers yet, so that's probably why. But I didn't live stream last week on Thursday. So today's Friday. Like I said in some of my other videos, I usually go live like Thursdays or Fridays. Haven't really committed to any of those days yet. Usually Thursdays around this time, 6, 7, 8 the latest, So I hope you guys like my background right now. What's right next to me? Back to the battalion, because I'll be heading back to the battalion coming up. I'm just waiting on new orders. I signed up for the SDIP program, which is the SDIP C program. It is a incentive for Navy military members to go back to their sea duty early. So I'm curtailing my shore duty to go back to sea early. So, all right. Well, let's jump right into this. Let's add the commentary to the stage. And this is the first video I wanted to talk about. This guy, I like watching Nicky MG stuff. So here we go.
I'm back, motherfucker! I'm back! What the hell are we all waiting for? Start attacking light. Waiting for the stars to align. Been working.
So I guess Nicky says that his video is saying Navy SEAL David Goggins exposed as a deadbeat. Okay, well, I happen to really like David Goggins. I think he's an incredible human being by doing all his marathons and stuff like that. And I've read his book. Well, I didn't really read it, but I listened to it. And it was a good book. Like I never did the accountability mirror, but I'm thinking about doing it now. Like after seeing a video of myself put on some pounds. So I'm going to have to really, really do the work this time.
Out hard in the gym for a month. So we down in poopy pants. You studied for 30 minutes for a test. And you didn't do as well as you thought. What the do you expect?
So yeah, you guys know David Goggins as the guy that is telling you to get up, run, you're too lazy, you need to go to the gym, and has a inspirational story of losing a ton of weight to go from not being very fit to walking every day for every meal to now being a former Navy SEAL and publishing books and things like that. But it appears some of his personal life has slipped through the cracks as his daughter is pretty much bashing him on social media, and she made this TikTok to kind of talk about it. And she says below that, "Mama, I'm chasing a ghost. Hashtag 10 years, silent too long, daddy issues, done being quiet, done with the lies." And this is her post over on TikTok. And this is her only post, by the way, on her entire thing. But it looks like she probably had other people previously following her. Now, it should be noted that some of this is no secret, from the past that has been discussed, as David Goggins went on an interview and kind of was transparent about his issues with his family and not being really in line with some of his earlier choices in life.
Have you considered what you would be like as a father?
I actually have a daughter right now. Yeah.
No way. I didn't know.
Yeah. I have a daughter right now. But that being said, I'm an open and honest person. So I had a kid at a young age when I was in the worst possible place in my life. So when you're in a bad place, you're going to meet a person that's very similar to who you are at that time. And then you bring a child into this world. And as you start to move up in this world and get better, and you realize I need to get better, you try to pull that person along with you. A lot of times they'll want to come where you're going, and it creates a bad environment.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that a little bit. They have this thing called crabs in the bucket. It's like if you're doing good, and like you got that one person always, oh no, you can't do that, or something like that. So I kind of relate to him.
So that's what that is right now. My daughter's 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
And so, by the way, that was posted back in 2023 December timeframe, and people already had negative thoughts about him. But this stuff is still coming up. But some of the comments on that were kind of sentiment of what we're even seeing today. For example, the top comment is, so he abandoned his daughter. The next one, so he abandoned his daughter. The next one, I read his book and I immediately disagreed with him in his book after he left his wife.
Well, you know, like it comes to a point where sometimes, like, what's your career? So you know, I'm sure people probably think that I abandoned my daughter. You know, I didn't go to her birth. I went to deployment instead. It was either the option to go to Sicily or to go to Rota, Spain, and I chose to go to Sicily. And you know, I feel really bad about that. I have, you know, by not being able to be there. Um, and then we weren't married either, so it was hard, you know. So then it was either get out and not pursue a military career anymore because of having a daughter, or stay in the military and keep doing what you do, you know, like, so that's kind of what I have to do. You know, it's just some things that men have to do as just men, you know, it's like, it's our purpose.
My instincts say he was abusive. So this has been a huge divide, as there are several people that have come out saying like they were not expecting this from David Goggins because it's like full committal to fitness, to all these other things that are out there. And they are kind of bashing David Goggins and hopping on this train even 2 years later after finding this. But it wasn't until his daughter did post this.
Finding out David Goggins is a deadbeat dad was definitely not on my bingo cards. Last night, his alleged daughter posted that pretty much he's not in her life. And I say alleged, but like she posts pictures of the two of them together and insinuates that he's not in her life. And it's really sad because it makes you remember that these motivational people and these people that are on the internet and have done such great things are also just people themselves too. And I'm not excusing what he did or does, but it reminds people not to put people on such a high pedestal because they're human too. And I saw a comment on the post that was interesting. A lady said that she always speculated it was something like that with him because you can't be so devout to something in life without giving something up. I just found that interesting. But
Well, when you're on a mission, you're on a mission, you know, and David Goggins was seriously on a mission. He was on a mission and chasing excellence. That's what David Goggins does. David Goggins chases excellence. He doesn't chase the family life. He doesn't chase the father life, I guess, you know, like he chases excellence. And if you want to come along for the ride, you go along for the ride. But if you don't, then that's his thing, you know. Can't be mad at him.
But yeah, I hope they can reconcile the relationship and he can come out and just basically, you know, be a better parent and just own up to what has gone on. And that's what I expect him to do because that's what he always has represented. But yeah, it's pretty sad, but I wasn't expecting that at all.
So that was a pretty balanced view of this entire thing, but somebody comes on the other side of this and they're like, but he's never talked about being a father as his messaging that he sent out.
I saw a video about David Goggins and how he was a deadbeat father. And she was talking about how we should not listen to him, not take his advice. And I'm trying to figure out when he gave parental advice. That dude screams fitness, motivation, etc. I don't understand why we put people on such high pedestals and how we feel like they have to be perfect. No one's perfect. The dude will dead ass fucking motivate you in the gym, 100%. But he's never once made a video on how to be a better parent. I don't understand why people want people to be perfect. It's crazy, man.
Now, I do have to show this because this video was the last one I saw that is kind of from the feminist side of the house, but it has the most traction. And I will explain statistics and things and mindsets from the military perspective of why I think this is not really that big of a deal and should have maybe been understood by a lot of different parties, but we'll get into that.
David Goggins being a deadbeat father is why I always encourage women to take advice from men with a grain of salt. Somebody else is managing half of their responsibilities for them. Like David Goggins, if you're not doing this, if you're not doing that, then you're lazy, you're this, you're that. Someone raised his kids for him. He was a deadbeat father. Like that's why he can devote all the time that he wants to fitness, because somebody else is doing his responsibilities for him. All these CEOs and upper executives who give all this advice about how to dedicate all your time and how to be a hard worker, they all have wives who watch their children for them, who cook all their meals for them, who pack their lunch for them. Like, you guys cannot listen to these men for advice. Get a female mentor, because these men have a woman at home who is doing the majority of their responsibilities for them. If these men actually
men shouldn't have female like coaches, I guess I would say, or something like that. They need to go look at other men and chase excellence. Women is just the icing on top or the cherry on top of their life.
we had to take care of their families and be present, they would be singing a different tune.
And a lot of people had thoughts on that post, and they say this. Claire Adactyl says, finally, David Goggins hate, and I'm here for it. My ex was obsessed with him, and I instantly couldn't stand him. And Starlit Knight says, so the fastest run he ever did was from his responsibilities. And then lastly, just Ryan Archuleta says, David Goggins ditched his kids so he could go running. I have a lot of thoughts about this because I went to his book, and he wrote two different books. He wrote the Never Finished book, and then he also wrote this book, Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind, and Defy the Odds. Now, this kind of goes through the story of this.
It's a great book. You know, it helps you go through, if you're going through some trouble, you're going through some shit, you know, like it will help.
And is really the only talking point that we have from David Goggins to initiate or, you know, give his side of the story from his own recollection, even though he had people help him write this book. But this is what he had to say. This excerpt says, Pam went home to share the...
It's actually a book/podcast, if you think about it, because if you listen to it, it's kind of like a podcast.
News with her parents. I walked her to the door of my mother's place, then slumped into the couch. In Coronado, I felt like I'd come to terms with my effed up past and found some power there. And here I was sucked under once again. Now it wasn't just about me and my dreams of becoming a SEAL. I had a family to think about, which raised the stakes that much higher. If I failed this time, it wouldn't mean that I was just going back to ground zero emotionally and financially, but I would be bringing my new family there with me. When my mother got home, I told her everything, and as we talked, the dam broke, and my fear, sadness, and struggle came bursting out of me. I put my head in my hands and sobbed. Mom, my life from the time I was born until now has been a nightmare that keeps getting worse. I said, the harder I try, the harder life becomes.
His wife left him. You know, he didn't leave. His wife left him and then probably took the kids.
And she said, I can't argue with that, David. She said, my mom knew hell and she wasn't trying to baby me. She never had. But I also know you well enough to know you will find a way to get through this. And said, I have to. I said, as I wipe tears from my eyes, I don't have a choice. So that's some of his recollection. He does talk about how they were living in Chula Vista, California, where essentially they lived in a tiny studio that was only a couple $100 and took out a massive loan for a Honda SUV to try and make things work for his family. And he was going through health issues because Navy SEAL training is just that hard. And he would be washed out and have to restart something entirely over or continue his commitment to this path that he'd already established and try and make it through.
This guy went through buds like 3 times.
With several broken bones, things like that, that he has said in his book. Now, I do want to say, wow, this entire process is like he was married while going to Navy SEAL training. There is unfortunately a lot of divorce in the military. Secondly, you throw Navy SEAL on that, it's going to go up. And I did a little statistical thing here, and even Jake Zweig, a fellow military content creator on this platform, tells anyone trying to become a SEAL not to become one because the divorce rate's so high.
And do not get married in the Special Forces. Do not go into the Special Forces married because you're going to get a divorce. Whatever.
Yeah, you know, military members have a hard time dealing with the marriages, you know, like especially the spouses, because we're not around, you know, and that's the hardest thing for women, I would say. And, you know, we're not around. We have deployments. We go on field training exercises. We do other stuff like duty and stuff like that. And, you know, like I can understand why women don't want to marry a military man, because the military man isn't going to be home. He's going to be going out and providing the bacon. And it's just going to be hard. It's going to be hard on the woman. So let's continue.
Whatever you do not allow your wife to be involved at all with the community, i.e., other bad dudes that are going to smash your wife. We've already talked about that in another video. I'll put it in the description. Okay. Yeah. But
definitely. If you're in the military, don't bang your friends' wives. Like that's messed up. You shouldn't be like sleeping around with other people's wives at all. Like if you know that they're married, don't ever try to sleep with them. Like it's just like bad juju. It's bad blood, man. It's not the way to do things. If you're already friends with the dude, and she's on a deployment, and he's on a deployment, definitely don't do that stuff, because then you become a Jody, and everybody hates Jody. So don't be a Jody. That's all I gotta say.
Bigger cataclysmic thing that I've seen is her being involved with the other wives on the team, the other Green Beret wives, the other Navy SEAL wives, because she's going to hear the horror story. The problem is she's going to get stinking thinking from this group of females, because half of them are going to get a divorce. A quarter of them are going to get a divorce. So now she's like, oh, my husband's out there doing it. You got all this doubt that's coming in.
If you're already married, do not go to SEAL training, because you will most likely get a divorce. AI is...
The statistics are 50% for divorce. Like it's a 50-50 gamble for divorce. So what I would say is refrain from getting married at all as a guy.
Looked at this. They say the figures are around 90%. So that means you have a 1 in 10 shot, possibly, with so many different things, between relocations, between time away from family, between the obligations to be at your job. The level of commitment is insane. Now, that is for the marriage. Let's talk about the daughter, because that is a factor that...
If you find a woman who understands that you're in the military, you're providing all this stuff for her, you're providing her a place to stay, you're giving her free health care, you're providing her money for food, all that other stuff. There are some women out there that do understand it, and that is like a unicorn, I would say. That's a unicorn trying to find a woman who understands the military life and is willing to join you on that journey. Oh, whoops.
That she was born into this, right? But going back to the daughter here, I want to say there are a couple things we can take away. We only get one post. There's a lot of layers to this. There are years of things that are there. And unfortunately, being a SEAL, doing that is one of the most selfish things you could do. Every SEAL will tell you that. If you listen to DJ Shipley talk about it on the Sean Ryan podcast, it's like every second of his life, he had a phone next to him and he was ready for any call to go. Now, not every SEAL is to that extreme, but it is expected. You have to be a certain level of crazy, a certain level of selfish, and a certain level.
It's not selfishness when it's your mission and it's your purpose to go out there and be a Navy SEAL. It's not selfish, because that's your purpose and that's what you're going to do. And your wife or your spouse or whatever, and they understand that you're a SEAL, then they will stick with you through blood and skin, or whatever that saying is,
Level of just not right in the brain to go into that realm. Decided to have a baby, and do that. And even David Goggins took on a stepchild during this process, during his book that he talks about it. So I think a lot of people are looking at this one-sided, and that's not just me trying to defend David Goggins. I just think there is cultural relevance here. There is occupational and all these other military things.
I'll defend David Goggins all day. I mean, he was on his mission and he was on his purpose.
things that really come into play that I think my audience will understand and get what it means to go deploy for how many months, even if you're not a Navy SEAL. That is a huge ask. And a lot of people go through a lot of things. And it's one reason why I personally don't have any children, is because I knew I did not want to put a kid through that. It's hard. It sucks. But there are people that do it. There are kids that are out there that brag about being a military brat and all these other things and living here, there, and everywhere. There's a lot of nuance to this that I don't think it's all bad, and I don't know her story, but I will keep tabs on it if this does kind of come up in the future and I see other stuff come out. But I wanted to talk about the commitment and what is required of military service, and I'd love to know what you guys think about all of these aspects that we've seen here talking about David Goggins.
Yeah, it's a huge commitment. It's a huge commitment. You have to be willing and ready to do the job of a spouse. You know, like, it's super important when you marry a military man. Talking to the ladies, I guess now, you know, if you're marrying a military guy, it's super supportive, important to be supportive of his career. And if he decides to get out, then he decides to get out. But because the military is not for everybody. You know, we're away a lot, and this is something that's part of our job. And it sucks. All right, let's see what the comments are saying. What are the comments? People are weirdos. Since when did a fitness influencer mean they are holy and have done no wrong? The internet has caused concerning levels of brain rot. Okay. Navy sailor or deadbeat? No way. I don't think I'm a deadbeat. I mean, I pay. You know, I pay. I call my daughter. I talk to her almost every day. You know, I don't live with her. I continue my life, you know. His daughter just posted an update stating, well, I did not expect that last post to blow up the way it did. I was just doing a TikTok trend about having an absent parent. I have an amazing mother who has never left my side and done the job for both parties. I have an incredible stepfather who stepped up when the other did not. Right. Well, David Goggins is a Navy SEAL, or was a Navy SEAL. So that was his purpose and that was his mission. So, and then his wife, David Goggins' ex-wife, probably what happened was moved away, and Goggins had to be like somewhere else, kind of like what my situation is. So, you know, but I'm trying hard to be a better dad. I'm trying to go back to Gulfport, Mississippi. This is where my daughter is. My daughter's located in that area. So I'm going to be a better dad than I already am, because I think that being a deadbeat is somebody who doesn't even pay at all, who doesn't even call, who doesn't even send a birthday card. You know, that's a deadbeat. You know, some of these people, you know, everybody's soft now. You know, oh, he's a deadbeat because he wasn't in her life. Well, you know, phone calls, the phone matters, you know, make phone calls and stuff. So, I don't know. Now, I digress, though. Let's see. Joined the Army when I was 33. It was rough, man. Now I get the whole I abandoned her, but I joined because I wanted to give her free college. I wish I could have been there with her every step of the way, but being in the military, you can't be with your kid if the relationship doesn't work out. You got to give up certain things to give your kid a better life sometimes. It's not making excuses, guys. What I'm saying is, in here, and when you put 10 years in, you can give your kid college for free. And that's something that's priceless to me anyway. Yeah, facts, man. Those are big facts. You know, the last thing I want to do is have my daughter have to take out student loans. You know, look at what's going on. Everyone's bitching about student loans. You know, it really is. It's not abandonment if he's providing in a way, but if he's not providing, then he's not providing. But, you know, the questions are, is he calling? Is he at least trying to reach out? Did he send her a birthday card? You know, like these are some questions that we need to ask. You know, is he this much of a deadbeat that people are saying, or is he at least trying to attempt? But there's always two sides to every story. So you can't just judge a book by, you know, whatever somebody else says. You need to find out what from the source and from the other side of the party. So successful men reveal what they actually want. Let's watch this.
As gals get older and more successful.
This is Rich Cooper. It's a little different. He's talking about marriage and stuff like that. I'm in his community, so let's see.
And accomplished and acquire all of the wants and needs out of life, a house, a car, the furniture, the career, the diplomas framed in mahogany, and all that stuff. They expect as a bare minimum that or more out of the guy that they're going to select over a long-term basis. Doesn't matter for short-term hookups, doesn't matter for fun, doesn't matter for what happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas. But on a long-term basis, women have a very strong demand for a guy that is at a better level than them. It's often been said that at their level or higher, but if we're being honest, women don't want to look at an equal. They want to look up to a giant. They want to be with somebody that's better than them. So the pool becomes narrow. It becomes narrow for a number of reasons. As men start to age in their 30s and 40s, they often find themselves divorced. You know, the women that they were with have usually untied the knot. 8 out of 10 times it's women that are untying the knot. It's not guys. So they've either become bored, dissatisfied.
Right. Yeah. This is what Rich said about the untying the knot. You know, like military members are at risk for all this stuff, for marriages and stuff like that.
Whatever it happens to be, and decided to leave the marriage. And that ruffles the feathers of the dude. It's going to cause, it throws a monkey wrench into his life. I've heard a lot of women complain that when they meet guys around their age or older, as they're in their 40s, there's not a lot of guys that are at their level or better. And a lot of times it's because these dudes have been divorce raped. They've had their family assets cut in half, because it goes into a pile. You cut it in half, she takes half, he takes half. That's the way it generally works. She often gets custody of the kids, which usually means that in addition to any maintenance or alimony that he might be paying a certain amount of child support.
Right. You know, so is David Goggins such a bad dude that he wasn't paying child support? You know, we don't know.
And that makes it quite difficult for him to do what it is he's going to do. The good news for most guys that are doing really well in life is they manage to deal with that bullshit and they sort of move past it. But it's the average guy out there, probably like 80 and 90% of guys out there that go through the untying of the knot, that find themselves worse off financially than what they were when they were together as a family. So a lot of these gals, they'll meet these guys on dating apps, and they're interested, but they're not seriously interested because they haven't got the scratch to allow them to look up at them. So there's that as well. Sassy is a word that you often hear about these success. I want to say success objects, but that's what men are. Men are success objects. Women are beauty objects. These successful women, sass, boss girl, career woman, you know, stuff like that, is generally interpreted as bad by guys. They want sweet.
I don't know. There's a lot of simps out there, Rich, that really like that shit.
And sexy, which is generally good. So they've narrowed their options is one of the biggest problems that they're dealing with, because that's what we've been told to do. Go out in the workforce, get a degree, climb the corporate ladder, make good money. And you hear these women say it all the time on Ladies Night on the podcast. Like, you know, when you ask them the question, well, what do you bring to the table? And their answer is, well, I've got my house and it's paid for, or I have a small mortgage and I have my Tesla and it works very well, and my beautiful furniture, and I'm a dog mom or a cat mom or something like that. So I'm responsible. And she's describing what makes a man attractive, having resources and competency skills. She's not describing what makes a woman attractive to successful men over 40. which is basically femininity and sweetness and kindness and usefulness in his life and being respectful. So they find themselves in a situation with a much narrower dating pool, making it extremely hard for them. If you're a successful guy over 40, you will have no trouble whatsoever matching with women over 40 that have careers, have their own homes, whether they paid for it themselves or they acquire it through divorce. You'll have no trouble whatsoever. There's lots of them out there. One of the problems, though, is there's not a lot of them are very attractive, beyond the sassy boss girl sort of stuff. But I'll get into that in a minute.
That's true.
The next point that I jotted down here is that successful men really don't want successful women, which I kind of alluded to earlier. I can go back to this conversation that I had. I was on this podcast with Danica Patrick. She's a ex NASCAR race car driver, I think, maybe did some open wheel stuff. I was on her podcast a couple years ago, and she would be what most people would like classify as your typical successful career woman. Had a great career, made lots of money. I think she has her own wine brand right now. She's attractive for her, for her age, well-spoken, intelligent, but it's not what makes women attractive to men. She said to me during the podcast, because we were talking about being challenged, and I've heard lots of other women say this too, so it's not just in this one conversation, but they like to portray or suggest that men like to be challenged in a relationship.
They don't. I mean, I don't like to be challenged, And
I don't know where they got this notion from. Maybe sitcoms, stuff like that, because every single time you watch a Hollywood sitcom, the father or the man in the relationship is portrayed as a bumbling idiot, total retard. And
right, yeah, like Al Bundy, Bill Cosby, Homer Simpson.
The wife or girlfriend is portrayed as the savior of the show. She could do nothing wrong. She's an angel. She's a saint. She's perfect. Solves all the problems with his mishaps and his bumbling, ways. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But the challenge that these 40-plus-year-old women think that men want is not what they want. Men want to challenge at work. They want to challenge to make money. They want to be challenged in the realm of success, in the realm of dealing with putting a dent in the universe and doing something of some importance. They don't want to deal with that when they come home. They want to come home to a nice meal. They want to come home to kindness and softness and warmth and sweetness. They don't want to walk in the front door and be challenged. Oh, we got to return this. We got to go to this store. We have to go and do this. Put this in your calendar date because we're going to go to my such and such extended girlfriend's cousin's wedding, whatever the hell it is. They don't want to deal with the obscure notion that while they're putting out fires all day in their professional world and doing something of some significance, that they're also going to be challenged by their wife to do, or girlfriend.
Right. Yeah. My dad says that relationships should be easy, and they should be. They shouldn't be difficult. There shouldn't be any, it shouldn't be difficult at all. They should be all easy.
Do other things beyond what they're already dealing with. So they really don't want successful women, which is interesting because the narrative women have been told, and they've heard for a long time, is successful men want successful women. There are some guys out there that will use the sound bites and say something like, well, I want a good partner in life. I want an equal partner. When guys say they want an equal partner, what they're basically saying is they want a ride or die girl. All right. They want a ride or die bitch, basically, is what they're
Yeah, that's what most of these guys want. Yeah, I want a ride or die too.
saying. She's my partner in crime. She's got my back. She's on the purpose. She's on the mission. It's basically ride or die.
Right. And my mission is to stay in the military for 20 years. And like my thing is, it's like, yo, where do you want to live? I want to say that so bad to my future wife and be like, oh, well, where do you want to live the next 3 years? Do you want to go live in Sicily? Do you want to go live in California? where do you want to live? Oh, well, I'll tell you all these places that are available, like that, oh man.
When women say that they want an equal partnership, which is what they generally use to
say all the time
to describe the relationship that they're seeking over the age of 40, what that usually means, most men find, is they want to make an equal contribution to important decisions and choices in the relationship, but make none of the financial contribution to that. I'm going to say that again. They want to make about 50% of a contribution to important decisions that are involved in the scope of the relationship, but they don't want to make much of an input financially to pay for the cost of that. Some might argue they might put in, 10 or 20 or 25%, but it's not generally an equal contribution that he puts in. There are some rare cases where it is, though, however. But generally speaking, again, for the second point, the other point that I wanted to make here is that these guys that these women don't generally want these women because they're not looking for a successful woman. The other thing that men have come to understand is that women don't share their pot of gold with men. There are guys out there that will gold dig successful women. It usually happens with younger guys that are players, fuck boys, is a term I've heard women use often. But they're the younger guys that are targeting the older women because they've got riches and
congratulations. Sweet. You signed a contract for UT, 4 years active duty, 4 years reserve. Nice. Okay. Sweet. That's awesome. I'm glad I was able to make an impact on it, Robert. That's awesome, dude. Do you did they give you orders yet, or do you know where you're gonna go? Shit.
And success to help them pay for their lives. So sugar mamas, if you will. But it's not that common. There are, interestingly, a contingent of very successful 40-plus-year-old women. When I say very successful, I'm going to elaborate on that and tell you that they're making, or they're worth 8 figures plus. Not 7 figures, not 6 figures. 6 is in the hundreds of thousands, 7s is in the millions, single digit. Beyond that, into the tens of millions. They have a very large net worth. Often it's either inherited from family or it's acquired through divorce. But they have a lot of money. And there is a contingent of these older women that will just spend money, believe it or not, on younger guys to scratch the intimacy itch, to have a guy with them along for a certain event, for example. There's there's a handful of men that actually fill this role. But that's on the extreme side of things. It's not very common. But generally speaking, like I said earlier, for the second point, successful men really don't generally want successful women because the success brings problems and attitude and stuff like that. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch,
let's see what the comments say. That's interesting, Rich. Men want to be challenged at work, not when they come home. Yeah. I mean, I want a nice hello kiss, like jump. Oh, I missed you, kind of thing. It's like my parents do that. Like my parents, they do that to each other, But yeah, that's what I would want. I want that too. All right, see what else is out there on the anybody know this guy?
When I retired from being a recruiter for the Michigan Army National Guard, I really struggled with the transition. If you're getting out of the military, whether you just served your time or you are retiring and you're nervous about getting out, I fucking see you, and it's very important you watch this video. I went on my first job interview, and my first job interview was a civilian headhunting firm, and my job was to be recruiting automotive engineers for the automotive industry. I didn't know a fucking thing about it, and I was really nervous during the interview. The manager asked me what are some of the skills that I learned in the military. I explained to the manager, I guess the biggest skill that I learned as a recruiter for the Army National Guard is problem solving. When I was a recruiter for the Michigan Army National Guard, I attended the Army National Guard Recruiting and Retention Awards Banquet at the Treetops Resort in Gaylord, Michigan. Typically, what goes on at National Guard recruiting conferences is National Guard members get fucking wasted and cheat on their spouse, their boyfriend, their girlfriend with other members of the National Guard. Anytime you get soldiers together, they're gonna fuck. It is a proven fact. I had a roommate at this conference, and my roommate was a recruiter from the Detroit area. His name was Darnell. I stumble into my hotel room, and Darnell is in the middle of a 3-girl, 4-guy gangbang. My man's
Holy shit. Damn. I wouldn't even remember that shit.
Sergeant Smith is just standing in the corner all by himself. Now, Sergeant Smith just had a baby, and his wife ain't ready to fuck yet, and my man needed some pussy, and I walked up to him, and I'm like, Big Sarge, what are you doing just standing here holding your dick looking all pathetic? And he's like, there's not enough girls for everyone. Now, I was a staff sergeant at the time. I was the ranking person in the gangbang. I called a halt to the gangbang. I'm like, guys, let's count up these fucking holes. We got 3 girls. That's 3 mouths, 3 buttholes, 3 pussies. That's 9 holes for 5 dicks. There's no way my man should be standing off in the corner, tugging on his dick, waiting to get tagged in. I brought everyone together. Everyone is fucking. I'm tag teaming the supply sergeant with Sergeant Smith, and he's hitting it from behind, and that motherfucker looked the happiest I had ever seen him. This bitch was sucking my dick, and she pulled off, and she was like, what kind of swingers party is this, Sergeant Vest? Y'all don't even have Cool Ranch Doritos. And I got real mad, and I'm like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Ain't no motherfucker eating Cool Ranch Doritos at a fucking gangbang. We laughed about it. Everybody got their nut. And after the gangbang, we're all cleaning up and just putting our clothes back on. And all the other soldiers came up to me and they were like, Sergeant Vest, thank you for stepping up and doing the right thing. I told that manager, sometimes you have to stay in the gunfight to win the gunfight. I was hired by that civilian recruiting firm. They hired me off of the intangible skills that I learned in the military. I was later fired because I got caught making jack-off videos in the bathroom with my work cell phone. And later, I was hired by National Guard Bureau in Washington, D.C. to do federal oversight over the enlistment process. I was back doing the same shit, different uniform. Guys, if you're getting out in the military, go easy on yourself, prepare for the transition, and remember the intangible skills. I hope this information helps. Thank you.
Damn. That is some weird shit. That is like the weirdest shit I ever heard. All right. We got one more, and keep you guys entertained. I'll pay some bills. Hey guys, this is Jason Olivo with Max Leader Brands Guns Powder. It's our whey isolate protein that has 110 calories, 1 gram of carb, 1 sugar, and 25 grams of protein per scoop. Has all amino acids to help you build lean muscle. Now I'm going to show you guys what I like to do with my Guns Powder. I learned this from buff dudes. And there's a lot of other guys that are out there that do these type of videos. I don't know very much about buff dudes, if they're still putting out like meal videos, but here you put 2 scoops of Guns Powder in there. It's 50 grams of protein. Now this isn't probably a good cutting meal, but because this is going to have a lot of calories in it. And then I like to take PB2, PB Fit, same thing. It is powdered peanut butter, so it's less fat, less calories, really good. And then I like to take a couple of tablespoons, thrown in the bowl. This is actually mixed with Guns Powder. And then I like to put like milk, almond milk, chocolate milk, and I like to mix it in the bowl. So here it is right here. And I like to mix it. Just put perfect amount so it has like a smooth texture to it, kind of like a yogurt or like a dessert. This is kind of like a dessert. There'll be some gurus out there that would say that you shouldn't count calories and stuff like that. I kind of don't agree, but that's just me. Mix this all up so it looks like this. All right. It's all. Put a little bit of cinnamon in it. Yeah, you put a little bit of cinnamon in it, then you put it in the freezer, and then you have a nice, tasty, delicious protein. I guess like kind of like a jelly. It's really good. Oh, it tastes so good, so good. All right, let's get back. We'll do one more. I think I want to do this one, the We Will Act one, the Liberal Hive Mind. It's short. Kind of relevant to today's environment. I think that illegal immigrants are bad. Not all of them, of course, not all of them. I think the ones that don't understand like the culture and like kind of like this guy right here. I don't know if you don't know about it, but this guy killed 3 people because he made a U-turn, and he killed 3 people. So let's see what Hive Mind's saying.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Another tragedy, another preventable loss of American life, and once again another tragedy connected to Democrat policies, and of course, once again, dead silence on the Democrat side. Isn't it funny how that works? The people who are constantly going on about protecting life, constantly signaling their virtue and talking about compassion, whenever it's time for them to meet a tragedy of their own making, they are nowhere to be frickin' seen, missing in action. It's the same hypocrisy that we point out when it comes to Black life, right? Democrats love the sloganeering and the political fundraising when it comes to Black issues and Black Lives Matter. Get them to lift a finger or even point the spotlight on the mass loss of Black life in inner city communities. Never gonna happen. Well, in this case, as we already learned, 3 people are now dead in Florida after an illegal alien with a fraudulently obtained CDL made an...
Right, yeah, he had a class... Supposedly, he had a Class A CDL. So I used to have a CDL. I had a Class B CDL. And that is no joke trying to get your CDL. So...
unimaginably stupid and reckless move or U-turn on the Florida Turnpike. All the facts are coming out and it's all pointing to a massive corruption scandal in California. And what's Gavin Newsom doing? He's running his mouth on TikTok and X, trying to present himself as an edgy politician taking on President Trump. The man has not even addressed the tragedy or the dots that got connected back to the state.
Wait, who is this jerk off? Who is this jerk off?
That he runs. And once again, we got the same kind of scenario. The only person who's actually standing up and frankly doing the right thing is, of course, none other than President Trump, the man that they told you was evil and heartless and selfish. He's again the one stepping in and doing the right thing. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape.
Yeah, I seen the picture of the guy. The guy didn't even look like he had any remorse whatsoever. It was more like, yeah, whatever. This happens all the time.
Okay, so I basically laid out the context in the intro there. Gavin Newsom hasn't lifted a finger.
All right, so if you guys don't know, this guy got his CDL in California.
No, I'm sure the mere mention of this story or any concern relating to deep corruption is going to draw a very typical reaction from any Democrat. What are you, a racist? But thankfully, we have a president who rises above all this frickin' petty nonsense. We're now learning that the Trump administration is announcing that they're working with the federal government to strip all licenses from the company that handed out these CDLs.
We had an issue where you had an illegal alien truck driver that got a commercial driver's license in the state of California, employed by a California company, killed 3 people in Florida. This guy didn't even speak English. We're bringing him up on charges. He's going to face a lot. And I can announce, Jesse, that I said initially the company.
He didn't speak English and he didn't even read English, probably, because he should have known that you can't make a U-turn at that spot that he took a.
Company needs to be held accountable, and we've been working with the federal government, and they are pulling that company's license to do business because you cannot employ somebody who cannot read the road signs.
And that right there is the difference. You know, while Democrats ignore the scandal and try to change the subject, as they always do, right? They'd rather live in a world of ad hominems and bogus narratives, slander and attacks, than ever live in a world of facts or actually tackling issues of concern. Well, while the Democrats are busy beating around the bush, Trump takes the fight straight to the corrupt companies enabling this. And I think that's very important. Frankly, I think that should be the focus. You know, I think there's been a little bit too much focus on the actual individual involved here. And I'm not to say that that anger isn't justified. It totally is, especially considering the reaction we saw from that very despicable individual. He snuffed out 3 lives and it looked almost as if it didn't even really affect him. You know, I get the reaction, I get the frustration, but I think the focus shouldn't be so heavily on just simply an illegal alien pawn. It should be on the corrupt system as a whole, a system that is being propped up, enabled, and defended by California's leadership. I really hope that this is a wake-up call because I promise you there is a deep web of corruption here that...
Yeah, California's trash. You know, like, it's beautiful weather, you know, like, everybody there is probably really awesome. It's just like their government is just horrifically, like, just bad with policies and stuff like that. And that's why Donald Trump won the election, because the policies for Democrats, as if you were sleeping throughout the last 4 years, or if you're not rich, you know, like, the policies were horrible for, like, the regular day average person.
That must be addressed. There's a massive illegal immigrant / H-1B visa scam ecosystem that many people are unaware of. Essentially, you've got thousands of organizations all over the country that basically work as middlemen outsourcing firms that exploit H-1B loopholes or that engage in literal fraud, getting illegal immigrants fraudulently obtained working licenses or certifications to do particular work, or even working under other people's social security numbers. And the whole purpose of these systems is to inject massive amounts of cheap labor into the market, subverting the voters, subverting Congress, subverting American immigration law. And I'm telling you, it ties into this California CDL fraud nightmare. You got organizations and DMV insiders and truck schools that are bribing their way to issuing licenses to unqualified drivers. Simply pay $5,000 a pop, fake the test scores, anything to get these people in a truck, to get these haulers on the road for these logistic firms that are moving product for major corporations like Amazon and others. Actually, there's a video that's currently going viral all over social media that's going to help put it into perspective a little bit. We got truckers in the industry blowing the whistle.
I recently went undercover posing as a non-domicile, non-English speaking driver with 0 experience to see just how easy and quick it would be to obtain a truck driving job in America.
That's pretty interesting that this guy did that, I guess, you know, like, I mean, the sector is like hurting for drivers, right? You know, so, but nobody wants to be a truck driver. You know, nobody wants to do that stuff. I mean, I know people who would do it after they retire from the military.
Now, the first thing I did is I went and I created a fake Facebook account, and then I typed in trucking jobs. And there's tons of Facebook groups just like the one right there that pop up. You join the groups, and right out of the gate, there's hundreds of posts like this right here. Assalamu alaikum, need Amazon drivers. Now, these Facebook groups are very, I guess you could say, utilitarian, because not only can you find these obscure non-domicile jobs, but you can also browse for active MC numbers with Amazon accounts already attached to them so that you can just buy the MC number from somebody else, duct tape it to the side of your truck, and you're good to go. There's a whole black market on these Facebook groups selling MC numbers with active accounts. So have you screwed your MC number up? Has a driver went out and killed somebody under your MC number? That's okay. Just get on this Facebook group and you can buy another one, print it off, and duct tape it to your door, and then show up at Amazon, and you can still haul their freight for them. Perhaps even you're looking to sell an MC number with an active Amazon account. You can do that also. Now, moving forward with the process, we're about 5 minutes in now. I reached out via text message to this phone number right here. I simply said, "Are you still hiring for Amazon driver?" A short time later, I got a phone call, and that phone call was a guy who I personally could barely understand. I was trying to emulate an accent the best that I could to remain cloaked. And the very first question they asked, which was the deciding factor if they would hire me, was, "Where are you from originally?" I couldn't say I was from America, so I lied, and I said that I was from India. They then took my information, and I got a phone call back shortly thereafter, and it was a 3-minute.
Can you just imagine trying to do this like undercover phone call? "Hello, I am from India." Holy shit.
Phone call with the guy who was sort of the head honcho over the
"Hello, I am trying to look for a job working for the driver." I wouldn't be able to do that.
entire operation, who told me it was totally okay that I don't have experience.
There are massive pipelines of illegal migrants and visa scams that a lot of American companies are taking advantage of, whether it's directly or indirectly. Actually, Uber comes to mind in terms of an indirect example of this exact thing. I'm sure you guys have experienced it, where you order something on DoorDash or Uber Eats, and then the name and the face of the delivery driver doesn't match up with the person who showed up. Well, what do you think's going on there? You got somebody who's a legal resident.
I don't think that's ever happened to me. I've ordered from DoorDash and stuff like that. I don't think that's ever happened to me.
Or citizen that's most likely collecting a fee from the illegal migrant who's using their identity to be able to work in the country and deliver Uber. There's so many little scams, and it goes from the little scam all the way to these big organizations that are doing it on mass level, flooding the American workforce with either cheap illegal migrant labor or higher skilled H-1Bs that come in and completely take over the tech world, working a lot of the times on contract. And that right there, my friends, that's the issue that needs to be focused on. That is the crux of the problem. And that, of course, is exactly what Gavin Newsom is probably running away from. That's the conversation he doesn't want to have. That's why he's nowhere to be found, because he knows that California's economy is built on these visa scams. So many major corporations, and especially in the tech world, are taking advantage of this stuff. Oh, and especially in agriculture and transport, just some of the major industries in California. And so obviously he doesn't want to address it. But thankfully, President Trump once again is stepping in where Democrats refuse. And he's coming in to rip the license of this corrupt company. And hopefully that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's the first step. Hopefully this tragedy in the end does something positive and exposes the larger rot, the visa fraud ecosystem, the DMV briberies, these corporate pipelines of cheap labor that are hollowing out the American middle class. It's time to have a serious conversation about what's really going on. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
That was interesting. Yeah, I guess California, I guess they do that type of stuff. I wonder what the comments say. Yeah, California DMV needs to be held accountable. Please arrest Gavin Newsom. As a truck driver of many years, it's about damn time. This shit has been going on since I started back in '99. It's only gotten worse year after year. Well, the problem is that people don't want to be truck drivers, really, I guess, or it's too hard. It's just like how I say things about the Marine Corps. If it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy being a military member, everybody would do it. Like I talked to the guy at Stu Leonard's today, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm home on leave. And I said to him, I was like, you going to join? Oh, no, I'm not going to join. It's like these pussy men or young people, I would say, that don't even want to do anything for their country. And it's disgusting. So, but I got one more. I want to give a shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to Robert. Congratulations. He signed his contract today and joined as a UT. So, hoorah. All right. Hoorah, Baron. So everybody like his comment for me and show him the support. because guy's gonna go and do some awesome CB shit. So, but I also want to share this also as well, which I didn't share yet. Share screen. Maryland. A Maryland CB, a UT1. Where is it? Right here. A UT1 was awarded Navy's highest non-combat medal for saving fellow sailor. So as a CB, this could be you. This could be me. You know, as a CB, you have an opportunity. You're a dirt sailor as a CB. So what does that mean? That means that we really don't go on the ships. So let's read this real quick, and then this is going to be the last thing, and then we're going to call quits. All right, utilities man from Lusby, Maryland, was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal on June 27th for heroic actions that saved fellow sailor following maritime training accident off the coast of Southern California. All right, hoorah, UT1. Utilities man, first class Stephen Schumer. I don't think I know him. But no, I don't know him. He was awarded Shrew Station, Colorado, California, was with the Naval Construction Force, received the medal during a ceremony at the Silver Strand Training Complex in San Diego. The Navy and the Marine Corps Medal is the highest non-combat decoration awarded by the Department of the Navy, recognizing act of heroism in situations not involving armed conflict. Yeah, that's awesome that he got that. Let's see. Can I do this? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Look at that. Oh, it doesn't have a SKUs pin though. UT1, man, you disappointed me. You don't even have your SKUs? Probably never been to a battalion, but that's okay. I'm just busting your chops. Anyway, received the medal during I read this part already. The incident occurred as Schumer and his team were returning to Naval Amphibious Base Colorado after nighttime maritime training. Their vessel struck a submerged, getting injured several crew members, including one sailor who was thrown into the water unconscious and face down. Despite being injured himself, Shahuminster rescued the sailor, bringing them back to the vessel where medical personnel were able to provide care. That's awesome. I'm not even going to say his last name. Actions, the UT1's actions, the Navy said, demonstrated exceptionally bravery, quick decision-making, and selfless dedication, qualities that reflect the core values of the U.S. Navy and naval special warfare: honor, courage, commitment. UT1, a graduate of Patuxent High School and an Eagle Scout from Lusby, Maryland. Oh, he was an Eagle Scout. That's cool. I never got past like second class. Serves with the Naval Construction Force, also known as the Seabees, who provide essential construction support to military operations worldwide. Their missions includes building roads, airfields, bridges, and bases, as well as supporting disaster recovery and humanitarian efforts. UT1U looks so much better with the SKUs too, but you know, that's just me, man. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's it, huh? Yeah. So give kudos to UT1. Congratulations. And give kudos to my man Robert for signing his contract as a UT. That's what's up, man. Congratulations. And all right, that will be it. And I'll see you guys on the next video.